Here's something most people never realize until it's too late. The difference between thriving at 70 and merely surviving has almost nothing to do with luck, genetics, or money. It comes down to 9 simple things you do every single day, or don't do. I've spent years studying what separates seniors who wake up energized, mentally sharp, and genuinely happy from those who struggle with each passing year. And what I discovered changed everything I thought I knew about aging. The answer isn't found in expensive supplements, complicated medical treatments, or moving to some special climate. It's hidden in the small, seemingly insignificant choices you make between the moment you open your eyes in the morning and the moment you close them at night. Think about your own daily routine right now. When you wake up tomorrow morning, what will you do first? When afternoon arrives and your energy starts to fade, how will you respond? When evening comes and you're alone with your thoughts, what habits will either restore you or drain you further? These aren't philosophical questions. They're the practical realities that determine whether you'll maintain your independence for decades or lose it within years. The fascinating truth is that your body at 60 and beyond is remarkably adaptable. Science now shows that many of the things we blamed on aging are actually the result of daily patterns we've unconsciously adopted. Change the patterns, and you change the outcome. It sounds simple because it is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy, and it certainly doesn't mean unimportant. Over the next 20 minutes, we're going to walk through 9 specific daily habits that have transformed the lives of countless people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. These aren't theories or wishful thinking. They're practices backed by research and proven by real people who decided that getting older didn't mean giving up on feeling good. Some of these habits take 5 minutes. Others are simply about timing and sequence. All of them are completely within your control, starting today.
Let's start where every day starts, the moment you wake up. What you do in the first hour after opening your eyes sets the tone for everything that follows. And here's what most people get completely wrong. The single most powerful morning habit isn't exercise, meditation, or a healthy breakfast, though all of those matter. It's something even more fundamental: consistent wake time. Your body has an internal clock called your circadian rhythm, and after 60, this clock becomes both more important and more fragile. When you wake up at roughly the same time every morning, even on weekends, you're giving your body the gift of predictability. Your hormones know when to release, your digestion knows when to activate, your energy knows when to rise. I learned this from a woman named Dorothy who came to one of my workshops completely exhausted despite sleeping 9 hours at night. She'd retired and thought sleeping in was her reward for decades of early alarms. But those extra hours weren't restoring her, they were confusing her body. Within 3 weeks of setting a consistent 7 o'clock wake time, her energy transformed. She stopped needing afternoon naps, her mood stabilized, her digestion improved, all because she gave her body the rhythm it was designed to follow. But here's the critical second part of the morning routine. What you do in the 15 minutes after waking determines your physical comfort for the entire day. Before you check your phone, before you rush to the bathroom, before you do anything else, spend just 5 minutes doing gentle movement while still in bed. I'm talking about simple ankle circles, knee bends, gentle twists, reaching your arms overhead. Nothing strenuous, nothing complicated. Why does this matter so much? During sleep, your joints stiffen, your muscles tighten, and fluid accumulates in your tissues. If you jump straight out of bed and start your day, you're forcing cold, stiff joints to bear your full weight immediately. That's why so many people over 60 experience morning pain, stiffness, and even falls. But when you wake your body gently, moving slowly and intentionally before standing, you're literally lubricating your joints and warming your muscles. You're preparing your body for movement rather than shocking it into action. Then comes the third piece of the morning foundation: hydration before stimulation. Most people reach for coffee the moment they shuffle to the kitchen, but your body has been without water for 8 hours. You're dehydrated, and dehydration affects everything, from your mental clarity to your joint health to your blood pressure. Drink a full glass of water, room temperature or warm, before that first cup of coffee. Let your body rehydrate. Give your digestive system something gentle to wake up with. These 3 morning habits, consistent wake time, gentle movement before rising, and water before coffee, create a foundation that protects your energy, reduces pain, and sets a positive trajectory for everything that follows. They take less than 20 minutes total, and they compound every single day.
Now, let's talk about something that terrifies most people as they age: losing their mental sharpness. The fear of forgetting names, losing track of conversations, or not being able to follow complex thoughts. But here's the truth that neuroscience has proven beyond doubt. Your brain remains capable of growth and adaptation well into your 80s and 90s. The key is daily cognitive challenge, not in overwhelming doses, but in consistent, enjoyable practice. The most effective daily habit for maintaining mental clarity is what I call learning engagement, and it needs to happen every single day for at least 30 minutes. This isn't passive entertainment like watching television. This is active learning that requires your brain to form new connections, solve problems, or master new skills. For some people, this means working through crossword puzzles or Sudoku. For others, it's learning a language through apps or books. Some people take up musical instruments for the first time in their lives. Others join book clubs where they discuss complex literature. The specific activity matters less than the consistency and the challenge level. I met a retired accountant named Frank who noticed his memory declining in his mid-60s. He couldn't remember where he'd placed his keys, forgot appointments, and felt his mind growing foggy. His doctors suggested cognitive exercises, but Frank hated puzzles and games. Instead, he decided to learn woodworking, something he'd always been curious about but never tried. Every morning after breakfast, he spent 45 minutes in his garage workshop following online tutorials, practicing cuts and joints, gradually building more complex projects. Within months, his wife noticed the change first. He was remembering conversations better, making connections faster, even telling more detailed stories about his past. The woodworking wasn't just keeping his hands busy, it was forcing his brain to learn new motor skills, visualize 3-dimensional objects, follow complex instructions, and solve problems when things didn't go as planned. His brain was building new neural pathways every single day. But here's what makes this habit sustainable. It has to be something you genuinely enjoy. The moment learning becomes a chore, your brain resists it. The engagement has to come from curiosity and interest, not obligation. If you hate crossword puzzles, don't force them. If reading dense books feels torturous, find another path. The joy in the learning is what keeps your brain releasing the chemicals that support neural growth. The other crucial element is variety. Your brain adapts to routine, so the challenge diminishes over time. This is why people who do the same crossword difficulty for years stop seeing cognitive benefits. Your learning needs to evolve. If you're reading mysteries, occasionally pick up historical nonfiction. If you're learning Italian, add music or cooking to your practice. Keep your brain slightly uncomfortable, slightly uncertain, always reaching for the next level of understanding. 30 minutes a day of genuine mental engagement. That's the habit that keeps your mind sharp, your memory functional, and your sense of self intact as the years accumulate.
Let's move into the afternoon, the time when energy typically crashes, and most people over 60 find themselves reaching for a nap or another cup of coffee. But there's a better way to handle this natural dip in vitality, one that actually increases your overall energy rather than just borrowing from tomorrow. The most transformative afternoon habit is movement that connects you with the outside world. Not intense exercise, though that has its place. I'm talking about a daily walk outside, ideally between 2 and 4 in the afternoon for at least 20 to 30 minutes. This timing isn't arbitrary. This is when your body temperature is naturally higher, making movement easier and more comfortable.
It's also when daylight exposure provides the maximum benefit to your circadian rhythm, helping you sleep better that night. But here's what makes this habit so powerful. It addresses multiple aspects of aging simultaneously. The walking itself maintains your cardiovascular health, keeps your joints mobile, and preserves the muscle mass that's essential for independence. The outdoor exposure gives you natural vitamin D, regulates your mood through sunlight, and provides visual stimulation that keeps your eyes and brain connected. The change of environment reduces stress, offers social opportunities if you choose them, and breaks the monotony that can make days feel meaningless. I knew a woman named Patricia who spent her first 2 years of retirement barely leaving her apartment. She told herself she was resting, recovering from decades of work, but what she was actually doing was declining. Her muscles weakened, her mood darkened, and her world shrank to the size of her living room. When her doctor warned her about declining bone density and increasing isolation, she reluctantly agreed to try a daily afternoon walk around her neighborhood. The first week was hard. Her legs tired quickly, and she felt self-conscious about her slow pace, but she kept going, adding just a few minutes each week. By the third month, something remarkable happened. She started noticing things, a garden that changed with the seasons, a neighbor who also walked at the same time, birds she'd never paid attention to before. The walks became the highlight of her day, not because of the exercise, but because they connected her to life happening outside her walls. Her physical health improved measurably. Her bone density stabilized, her balance increased, and her chronic knee pain actually decreased because the gentle movement reduced stiffness. But the mental and emotional benefits were even more dramatic. She slept better at night because her body had engaged with natural light cycles. Her mood lifted because movement releases endorphins and reduces cortisol. Her sense of purpose returned because each walk gave her something to look forward to and accomplish. The key to making this habit sustainable is removing the pressure to perform. This isn't about speed, distance, or burning calories. It's about consistent, gentle movement in natural light. Some days you might walk briskly for 40 minutes. Other days you might stroll slowly for 15. Both count, both matter. The habit is the showing up, not the achievement. And if weather or physical limitations make outdoor walking impossible on certain days, the principle still applies. Move your body intentionally during the afternoon hours. March in place by a sunny window. Do gentle stretches in your living room. The movement matters, but the timing matters almost as much because it works with your body's natural rhythms rather than against them.
Now, we need to address something that medical research increasingly shows is as important to longevity as exercise or nutrition: meaningful human connection. Loneliness isn't just an emotional problem for seniors, it's a physical health crisis that increases mortality risk as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. But here's what most people misunderstand. Connection isn't about the quantity of people in your life, it's about the quality of engagement you have with them. The daily habit that transforms this aspect of aging is what I call the intentional connection ritual. Every single day, you need to have at least one meaningful interaction with another human being. Not a transaction at the grocery store, not a polite nod to a neighbor, but an actual conversation where you share something real and listen to something real in return. For some people, this happens naturally. They live with family, they have close friends nearby, they're involved in community groups. But for many seniors, especially those who've lost spouses, moved to new areas, or whose families live far away, connection requires deliberate effort. And this is where the daily habit becomes essential. The most effective approach I've seen is scheduling connection the same way you'd schedule a doctor's appointment. Every day at roughly the same time, you reach out to someone. Monday might be a phone call with your sister. Tuesday could be coffee with a friend from your walking group. Wednesday might be a video call with your grandchildren. Thursday could be lunch with someone from your faith community. The specific people rotate, but the daily practice of genuine connection remains constant. I watched this transform a man named George, who'd become increasingly isolated after retiring from a career that had defined his social world. He'd wake up, read the news, do some chores, watch television, and go to bed. Days blended together.
His conversations were limited to brief exchanges with cashiers or automated responses to telemarketers. His children worried, but he insisted he was fine, that he didn't need people. Then his daughter gave him an assignment: call one person every day for 2 weeks. Not to ask for anything, not because something was wrong, just to talk. George thought it was pointless, but agreed to try. The first few calls were awkward. He didn't know what to say beyond asking how people were doing. But gradually he found his rhythm. He started sharing stories from his past, asking deeper questions, listening more carefully to the responses. By the end of the 2 weeks, something unexpected happened. He didn't want to stop. Those daily conversations had become the anchors of his days. They gave him reasons to pay attention to the world, to notice things worth sharing, to remember details about other people's lives. His mental sharpness improved because he was exercising his memory and language skills. His mood lifted because he felt relevant and connected. His sense of purpose returned because he realized his experiences and perspective still mattered to people. But here's the crucial refinement: quality trumps duration. A 10-minute conversation where you're fully present and genuinely interested is infinitely more valuable than an hour of distracted small talk. The habit isn't about filling time, it's about creating moments of real human resonance where you're seen and you see others. This also means being selective about the connections you maintain. Not every relationship deserves your daily energy. Some people drain you, bring drama, or make you feel worse about yourself. The daily connection habit isn't about maintaining toxic relationships out of obligation. It's about nurturing the relationships that actually nourish your spirit. Sometimes the most important decision is choosing who not to call. The beautiful side effect of this daily habit is reciprocity. When you consistently reach out to people, they start reaching out to you. Your phone starts ringing more often. Invitations increase. You become woven into the fabric of other people's lives instead of slowly fading from their awareness. Connection creates more connection, but only if you initiate it regularly enough to build momentum. Let's talk about eating, but not in the way you might expect. This isn't about strict diets, counting calories, or giving up foods you love. After 60, your relationship with food needs to shift from restriction to nourishment, from rules to rhythms. And the single most important daily eating habit has nothing to do with what you eat. It's about when and how you eat. The transformative habit is eating your meals at consistent times with full attention. Your digestive system, like your sleep cycle, thrives on predictability. When you eat breakfast at 7 one day, 10 another day, and skip it entirely the next, you're creating metabolic chaos. Your body doesn't know when to produce digestive enzymes, when to signal hunger, or when to process nutrients efficiently. This inconsistency leads to poor digestion, unstable energy, and increased inflammation. But when you eat at roughly the same times every day, your body learns the pattern. Your stomach prepares for food before it arrives. Your insulin sensitivity improves. Your energy stabilizes throughout the day instead of spiking and crashing unpredictably. This regularity becomes even more critical as you age because your metabolic flexibility decreases. Your body needs structure to function optimally. I learned this lesson from a retired teacher named Helen, who struggled with constant digestive issues, low energy, and weight gain despite eating relatively healthy foods. When I asked her to describe her typical eating pattern, she couldn't. Some days she ate 2 meals, other days 4. Sometimes she'd have dinner at 5, other times at 9. Her body was in a constant state of confusion, never knowing when nourishment would arrive. We started simply. Breakfast at 8, lunch at noon, dinner at 6, every single day. No changes to what she ate initially, just when she ate it. Within 2 weeks, her digestion calmed dramatically. Within a month, her energy became predictable. She knew she'd feel alert in the morning and naturally tired in the evening. Within 3 months, her body composition shifted without any calorie restriction because her metabolism finally had the consistency it needed to function properly. But here's the second critical piece of this habit: eating with full attention rather than distraction. Your body registers satiety, the feeling of being satisfied, through multiple channels. Taste, yes, but also through visual cues, smell, the physical act of chewing, and even the social context of eating. When you eat while watching television, scrolling through your phone, or reading the news, you're disconnecting from half of these signals. You finish the meal without your brain fully registering that you've eaten, which leads to continued hunger, overeating, and poor digestion. The practice is straightforward but requires discipline in our distracted world. When you eat, just eat. Sit down at a table, look at your food, notice the colors, the aromas, the textures. Chew thoroughly, actually tasting what's in your mouth rather than mechanically moving your jaw while your attention is elsewhere. Put your fork down between bites. Let the meal take at least 20 minutes so your stomach has time to communicate fullness to your brain. This isn't about perfection. You don't need to eat in complete silence or turn meals into meditation retreats, but the majority of your bites should happen with your attention on the food, not on screens or reading material. This simple shift changes everything. You'll naturally eat less because your body registers satisfaction more quickly. You'll enjoy your food more because you're actually experiencing it. Your digestion will improve because proper chewing and mindful eating trigger better enzyme production and gut motility. And here's what I always tell people who resist this habit because it sounds too simple. Your relationship with food is one of the few health factors entirely within your control. You can't control your genetics, can't always control your circumstances, can't turn back time. But 3 times a day, every single day, you get to make choices that either support your body or undermine it. Consistent meal timing and attentive eating are choices that support everything else you're trying to achieve.
Here's a truth that nobody wants to hear, but everyone over 60 needs to understand. Some degree of physical discomfort is going to be part of your daily reality. Joints that were injured decades ago will make themselves known. Muscles that were overworked in your younger years will remind you of their service. This is simply what happens to bodies that have lived full lives. But here's the empowering part. How much that discomfort controls your life is largely determined by one daily habit. The single most effective pain management practice for seniors isn't medication, though that has its place. It's a daily flexibility and mobility routine done at a specific time, right before bed. This timing is crucial because you're preparing your body for the long period of stillness that is sleep, and you're setting yourself up for how you'll feel when you wake. This isn't about intense stretching or forcing your body into positions it can't handle. It's about gentle, sustained movements that take your joints through their available range of motion, release muscle tension that's accumulated during the day, and signal to your nervous system that it's safe to relax. 10 to 15 minutes is enough. The routine should target the areas where you hold the most tension, typically the neck, shoulders, lower back, hips, and legs. I watched this transform the life of a man named Vincent, who'd accepted chronic lower back and hip pain as his permanent reality. He'd tried physical therapy, medications, injections, and heating pads with only temporary relief. The pain disrupted his sleep, limited his activities, and darkened his mood. Then a friend suggested he try a simple evening stretching routine, focusing on hip flexors and hamstrings. Vincent was skeptical. He'd tried stretching before without success, but this time he committed to doing it every single night without exception, right before getting into bed. The first week brought minimal change. The second week, he noticed he was falling asleep faster. By the third week, his morning stiffness had decreased noticeably. After 2 months, his chronic pain had reduced by more than half, and he was moving through his days with a freedom he hadn't experienced in years. What changed? His muscles and fascia, the connective tissue that wraps around muscles, had been tight and restricted for so long that they'd literally shortened. This restriction pulled on his joints and created constant tension, but consistent, gentle stretching gradually restored length to those tissues. More importantly, the evening routine taught his nervous system a new pattern.
Instead of bracing against pain and holding tension, his body learned to release and soften before sleep. The specific stretches matter less than the consistency and the gentleness. Cat-cow movements for the spine, hip circles and figure-4 stretches for the hips, gentle neck rolls, hamstring stretches while seated. Nothing should ever hurt. You're looking for mild tension, the feeling of gentle pulling, never pain or forcing. Breathe slowly and deeply while you stretch, because breath signals safety to your nervous system and allows muscles to release more fully. And here's the secondary benefit that surprised everyone who adopts this habit. Sleep quality improves dramatically. When you release physical tension before bed, your body can relax more completely during sleep. You wake less frequently, sleep more deeply, and wake feeling more rested. The pain management routine becomes a sleep improvement routine simultaneously.
Now let's talk about the hours between dinner and sleep. A window of time that most people completely waste, but that holds enormous power over your overall well-being. How you spend your evening directly determines the quality of your sleep, which in turn affects your energy, mood, mental clarity, and physical health the next day. The daily habit that transforms this crucial time is what I call the digital sunset. 2 hours before your intended bedtime, you need to begin separating yourself from screens. Television, computer, tablet, smartphone, all of them emit blue light that tells your brain it's daytime, suppressing the melatonin your body needs to produce for quality sleep. More importantly, the content you're consuming, whether it's news, social media, or even entertainment, is stimulating your mind and nervous system at precisely the time you need to be calming them. I know this sounds impossible in our modern world. How are you supposed to fill 2 hours every evening without screens? But here's what I've seen happen when people actually try it. Those 2 hours become the most peaceful, restorative part of their entire day. A woman named Margaret initially told me this habit was ridiculous. She lived alone, television was her companion, and she wasn't about to sit in silence every evening. But her doctor had told her that her chronic insomnia was affecting her blood pressure and cognitive function, so she reluctantly agreed to try the digital sunset for 2 weeks. The first few nights were difficult. She felt restless, bored, uncertain what to do with herself. But gradually, she rediscovered activities she'd abandoned years ago. She started reading again, actual books made of paper that didn't emit sleep-disrupting light. She began journaling, processing her thoughts and feelings on the page instead of letting them circle endlessly in her mind. She took up gentle hobbies like knitting and sketching. She started calling friends in the evening, having long, meaningful conversations she'd never made time for when television filled her nights. Within a week, she was falling asleep faster and sleeping more deeply. Within 2 weeks, she woke feeling genuinely rested for the first time in years. By the end of the month, her blood pressure had improved and her doctor reduced her medication. But the most remarkable change was subjective. She actually looked forward to her evenings. They were no longer just the empty hours before sleep. They'd become a sanctuary of peace and creativity. The evening wind down doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing things that calm rather than stimulate. Reading, gentle hobbies, conversation, light household tasks, preparing for the next day, journaling, listening to music, taking a warm bath. The common thread is that none of these activities flood your brain with artificial light or triggering content. And here's the practical reality. Most people who adopt this habit naturally start going to bed earlier because they're actually tired when bedtime arrives. When you're not artificially stimulating yourself with screens, your body's natural tiredness signals come through clearly. You stop forcing yourself to stay awake out of habit and start listening to what your body actually needs. We've covered 8 powerful daily habits, but there's one more that ties everything together and amplifies the benefits of all the others. This final habit takes less than 5 minutes, but creates a profound shift in how you experience your days. It's a simple gratitude practice done right before sleep. Before you turn off the light each night, mentally review your day and identify 3 specific things you're grateful for. Not generic things like health or family, but specific moments from that particular day. The warmth of the sun during your afternoon walk, the taste of your morning coffee, a kind word from a neighbor,
a memory that made you smile, the softness of your pillow, the fact that your body carried you through another day. This practice rewires your brain over time. When you know you'll be looking for things to appreciate before bed, you start noticing them during the day. Your attention shifts from what's wrong, what hurts, what's been lost, to what's still good, what's still working, what's still worth savoring. And this shift in attention literally changes your brain chemistry. Gratitude practice has been shown to reduce depression, improve sleep, lower inflammation, and increase overall life satisfaction. I watched this transform a chronically negative man named Arthur, who complained about everything: his health, his family, the weather, the state of the world. His wife finally told him his negativity was making both of their lives miserable. She asked him to try one thing: name 3 good things from each day before sleep. He thought it was foolish, but agreed. The first night he struggled. Everything felt forced or trivial, but he found 3 things. The next night was slightly easier. Within 2 weeks, he noticed something shifting. He started looking for moments worth remembering during the day. He found himself savoring his morning routine instead of rushing through it. He noticed beauty he'd been walking past for years. His whole orientation toward life softened. His wife said it was like living with a different person. These 9 daily habits: consistent wake time with gentle morning movement, daily mental engagement, afternoon outdoor activity, meaningful daily connection, regular meals eaten with attention, evening flexibility routine, digital sunset, and nighttime gratitude, form a complete framework for thriving rather than merely surviving your later years. None of them require expensive equipment, special facilities, or dramatic life changes. They're all completely within your control starting tomorrow morning. And while each habit is powerful individually, together they create a synergistic effect where each practice amplifies the benefits of the others. Your daily habits are writing your future health. Every single day, you're either building vitality or accepting decline. The choice, genuinely, is yours. Start with one habit, master it for a week, then add another. Within 2 months, you'll have transformed your entire daily experience, and within 6 months, you'll barely recognize the person you were before you began. This is how you win at aging, not by fighting it, but by working with it through simple, sustainable daily practices that honor both your wisdom and your body's changing needs.